Hey everybody out there, fellow virtual photographers. It is Spoonbender here. I figured it'd be kind of a fun idea to show everybody how I do my editing process. So I'm going to showcase this picture here, which is one of my favorites. It's been my background on my phone for ever since I got it, which is close to a year now. I really like the way it turned out, but we can do a lot more with editing in this one. I like to darken it up a little bit and just bring out some of the line work on the building and increase the color that you see in this picture. So I'll show you how I do that. Uh, so first of all, we're going to bump up the exposure a little bit, just a hair, because it's got a lot of haziness here. And the haziness is going to increase when you increase the exposure. So we want to be careful how much we do. You can go down in your settings, or at least I do, to the dehaze option. What dehaze does, gets rid of a lot of the fog that you're seeing. Conversely, dehazing seems to darken everything, and that's because reducing that fog will make it darker. Because obviously, fog is whiteness, and when you get rid of that, the picture's going to get dark. Um, Contrast is one of my best friends. I always crank up the contrast. It really just seems to bring everything to life in a picture. So I'll bump that up a little bit. And the highlights in this picture, if we want, we can make those just a teeny bit stronger. Um, there's already a lot of shadow going on here, so we really don't need to mess with shadows too much. But if you do increase the strength of your shadows just a smidge more, it really stands out on the ice. So I like to do that. Same with the blacks, just to bring some richness to the picture. Another thing that's fun to do in Lightroom is we can go over here and it can actually differentiate sky and subject. There really isn't a subject in this picture, so it's not going to work. But if we tell it to select the sky, it's going to focus on all those clouds up there. Um, you can see that's the affected area. And up there, we really don't have a whole lot to do outside of the fact that it is a little bit brighter than I would like, and it's pulling focus from the pagoda. So I'm going to darken it just a little bit with a little bit more contrast. I'm going to go back down to dehaze, which we talked about just a second ago. Darkens your picture when you up the dehaze. So as you can see, now that sky is like a nice dark stormy color. Um, the only bugger is that it is making some of these snowflakes a little less sure of themselves. So now what we can go ahead and go do is back to our original. I'm going to overarching editing here. I'm going to go and bump up our clarity. And clarity just refines the edges of everything in the picture. And because of that, it almost makes everything get brighter. It's just another side effect of bumping up your clarity. Uh, After that, I mean, this picture it's close to being where I want it to be. I just want to enrich it a little bit. There's not a lot of blue in here, um, which I feel like the blue and the red contrast each other really well. So I'm going to bump up our blue pretty much to maximum because there really isn't a whole lot. So it's not going to be horribly noticeable if we crank that to the maximum. So we're going to do that and then just a little bit on aqua. But these reds, I want those to be as strong as possible. Normally when you bump red up, it really overpowers a picture and it starts to bleed out the edges. But here, since it's just such a small area and that's the focal point of our picture, I'm going to really turn that up as much as I can. We could increase the saturation and the vibrance for the whole picture. You just got to be careful with that overpowering pretty much everything else. So we got to be really ginger with those settings. Uh, Lastly, what I'm going to do at this point, because everything's kind of where I want it, I'm going to do some spot fixes on the lighting and just really make the lighting pop up. So I'll go in here and we already did the sky, but I'm going to make a new brush zone and we're going to focus on where the moonlight is coming here. So what we want to do is get our brush, and this is where things can get kind of meticulous, but I'm going to go through and actually select all of this that the light is touching, just like Mufasa taught us. And you can see I selected all the snow up there. I'm going to do the same here, just in the spots where the light is touching, because that's what I really want to highlight. I'm gonna go down here. That's not light, it wants to be, but that's just some snowflakes. I'm gonna touch this up a little bit. Just increase everywhere that the light is touching because it's already a really good focal point. But when you go back through, and you'll see in a moment what's gonna happen, you gotta be really careful when you're doing spot checks like these because it's already so strong. You don't want it to overpower the rest of the picture. So just there alone is what we've picked. I'm also going to go down here and the rocks. You can see there's little spots here on the rocks that are being hit by that moonlight. And I want to do it there as well, just because that's where I want to draw attention to. Because it's such a cool lighting effect that Ghost of Tsushima does. Just really brings a lot of vibrance to the entire picture. We're going to bring this one up a little bit as well. So now you can see all the red highlighted zones are areas that I've selected that I want to be touched up. So I'm just going to go over to our exposure here and just turn that up just a little bit. And you can see how much brighter that makes those spots here. So I'm going to soften this up a little bit just because it looked a little stark. But you turn it off, you see how much darker it just got. That really helps just to be able to jump back, and you can try it a few times just to see the alternative of what it would look like. We can go down here, we can make this torch a little bit brighter, and the snow that it's shining on. Can go over here and touch up our lights. I mean, those are already pretty much about as bright as they're going to get, but I mean, this is pretty much as close to perfect as I want to get this picture. If I wanted to do more, I could just do a full blanket on that red center there, bump up our contrast and clarity on that just because that's my focus. We could also turn the exposure down just a little bit just to emphasize all the shadows, but this is about as close as I want it to be perfect in my opinion. So I hope you all enjoyed kind of my brief thought process on how I do my edits. Thanks so much.